Welcome to the Shadow of the Erdtree breakdown video. This DLC for Elden Ring is officially upon us, and I have all the juicy information you're going to need. This is going to be timestamped, so if there's something specific you're looking for, you can find it here. I want to start off by saying I already have a video showing how to enter the DLC. It's pretty basic and simple, straightforward. There's a boss, no spoilers, but in that boss fight, that's how you'll enter once you get to that boss fight. Those are some of the requirements. We're not going to cover all that here, but you can check that out in the description. Now, for this video, we're going to be covering the level requirements, the new weapons, going to be showcasing all cool footage. No story spoilers too much. Of course, there will be enemy types and weapons that you'll see that you probably might want to ignore, but mostly what I'm going to say won't be spoilers. I'll give you a heads up if there is anything. The first thing that we want to talk about, it is coming out in June 21st. If you're watching this later, I still have a lot of information for you. Guess what? You can play this and be a try-hard, a no-hit run at level 1, but the devs are requiring or requesting or telling people the recommended level should be 150, and that will be a comfortable space for you to get into this DLC and experience it in the proper way that they designed it. And of course, guys, you know Elden Ring and From Software won't be taking it easy on you. So even if you're that level, it is very difficult and you're going to have a hard time with some of these bosses. Crazy enough, not to spoil any specific boss, but imagine a boss with 4 different phases. You think you're done, you finish a phase, you go to phase 2, you beat it at that, you think it's over, he pops a 3rd phase, and then he pops a 4th phase. And man, I can tell you that is going to be fun and exciting to see all of us as a community where we can go from there. Now, the main topic that I want to get into and break down about this is, yes, 150 is the starting level, more or less, and you're going to need that as you play. But I do want to help you guys understand that there is a scaling system, and I'm going to teach you exactly how to that works and then what to do to get it and to go forward. If you guys have played the original base game, then you know about the simple things like the golden seeds or the sacred tears, which will power up your flax and so on within the game already. Well, this new scaling system is going to have 2 new items that you're going to be able to pick up, and also have the option, if you want, to make the game fair and boost yourself. So let's get into it right now, and here we go. So level scaling is optional. You don't have to level scale if you don't want, but as you go throughout the game, you're going to be able to collect skull trees fragments, and once you get to the site of grace, that's when a new option to increase your skull tree's blessing, that's going to increase your damage you deal and then reduce the damage you take. Again, these things are pretty straightforward, just like the base game has the golden seeds and so on to level up. You're going to be using these items within the new DLC to also level up, basically giving you more damage and reduce the damage you take. Pretty straightforward and simple method from there. Now, where are these? Honestly, from what I've seen and heard, they are scattered. Whether it's a mini boss, a main boss, some quest, you're going to be finding them just like we've done with the other items in the games as well. So it's possible to just find them as you go along in the game. So don't rush. Take your time, explore. As you know, Elden Ring has great open world exploration and discovery, and that's going to be very important. All right. Super critical. Another thing I wanted to touch on for everybody who is wondering, like myself, how long is this DLC? If you already bought it or you want to buy it, is it worth getting for the cost that it has? Well, from everybody that's playing it and that has played and some of the devs' suggestion, it's about 60% the size of the original base game. That doesn't mean that's all you're gonna get. Understand, some people will beat the game quick when they played Elden Ring. Some will take 100 hours. Plus, I took over 100 hours because I explored and discovered every boss. I've unlocked everything before I finished the main storyline, and I had a good time doing so. But not everybody plays that way, and that is okay. Nobody's here to judge if you rushed or you didn't when you play the game. Take your time, do it how you feel, okay? So just know that that's how I personally feel about it, and there's no judgment from me. You do what you feel. And now I want to get into some weapons, and this is going to be pretty in depth, but I don't want to spoil every weapon and overload you. So if you want to skip this and not see the weapons and also not hear about the weapons, I totally get it, and that's perfectly fine. But I'm going to display a bit of it and then give you guys a breakdown on what you can expect as you go forward. All right. We're going to show different weapons as I just mentioned each of them and give you kind of a breakdown on them. There's 8 new weapon types. Okay. That doesn't mean that's only going to be one weapon, there's variety within those, but 8 weapon types. The first one that I want to talk about is the thrusting shield. This is a shield that honestly looks kind of badass. It's basically a shield with a spear attached to it. So think of a spear, but with a shield on it. And those players who use this, I personally never use shields. It's just a code of honor for me to not use shields. But I know a lot of players that are really great with the shields, and they're really good at making builds that fit that playstyle. And I'm curious what you guys can do with this new system for this shield that is actually aggressive and it's not just a passive tool. And I love that. And I think for those, if you're a big time fan, can get excited and enjoy it in that way. All right, that's number 1. Number 2, we have the what I personally am most excited about, and you're going to be seeing some of this in here, is the one and the only hand-to-hand combat, well, martial arts. Let's just call it what it is. And it's basically fist weapons. And to me, this is the Elden Ring that I want, that I absolutely love. And it takes me to my martial arts training and makes me inspired to want to get back into Kung Fu again. But yes, you're going to be doing a lot of very cool close quarter combat, amazing jump attacks, heavy duty jump attacks that are actually pretty overpowered in my opinion, and they feel really good with the combat systems, and I love it personally. I'm not sure what you guys feel or think about that type of playstyle, but I personally am super excited to get into it with that. So you're going to be watching that here and seeing some of the hand-to-hand aspect as we go. There's also throwing weapons. All right, so you're looking at new daggers, for example. This is daggers where you can spam attack these, and it makes it very fun and interesting. Instead of throwing a spell, you're actually using melee range style of weapons, and it's going to be staggering enemies, finishing off enemies. It could be a very cool aspect to it that I'm interested to see how you hack and slash. Personally, I like dexterity builds. I just feel there's a skill base to being able to be super aggressive and not just wait for a parry window or quick dodge and things like that. So we will see what build I'm going to use. I'm curious what you guys are going to do. I would want the community to come help me out, by the way, on my streams before the DLC releases, preparing, and then also when the comes out, maybe do some co-op. So lock in with me. There is the awesome reverse hand sword. So this is more stylish and personally something I absolutely love. The reverse hand swords. Basically, you're holding the swords reversed and you're going to be hacking and slashing. It's going to be very cool. And this is personally something that I am also going to be trying. It allows you to block with them and do other things that you can do that are interesting, rapid attacks and combinations, backflips and things like that, that I personally really loved for this preview. and I'm interested to see how that goes. Now we're gonna go into the perfume bottles, and again, this is more of the traditional aspect, something that you guys do. You're gonna be able to use different spells, or I would say potions, dealing freeze, fire, whatever you feel as far as elements go. And of course, this is going to keep you agile so you can run around and set things up. But you want everything to explode, right? So it's going to be a cool play style. And I think if you can implement that while having other elements as well at the same time, this can be one of those very heavy duty spammable aspects. And then there's the Great Katana. The Great Katana, we've already seen weapons like this, also known as the Adachi. This is the historical big gigantic katana that we all love, and that's going to be fun and interesting to see the new move sets and the combat that you can have. Of course, you know, I don't want to say Sekiro, but it would be cool to see how this all plays out. Then of course there's the light greatsword, which is the exact opposite. It's a little bit more agile, thinner, and you're able to wield it and have some decent reach, but still be quicker when you swing and not have to be so slow and things like that. So I like that one as well. And one of the last but not least ones that I personally always think will be fun is the beast claws. These are, you probably saw it in this footage, the beast claws are so ridiculously powerful. Personally, again, that's more my play style, to get in their faces and get wild with it. It's going to be fun and interesting to see how that plays when people make builds and so on. I'm curious. I'm going to make some builds. I'm probably going to give you guys top builds, and I would love for the community to share theirs ahead of time in the description. Talk about what you like, what you do, and then we can just politic on those very cool elements. And those are the weapons right now, and you're watching some of that actual action with the weapons. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Now I'm going to get into a couple of different things. There's the reverted spirit ashes, which will boost your attack power for ashes and summons. Okay, this is very important because you're going to be needing all of this to get into the DLC and go deep down a rabbit hole, which Firm Software always tends to make difficult. There is a new system for the torrent, which is your horse, aka your mount. You're going to be able to level them up as well, and I believe that the Revenant Spirit Ashes also play a part in that, and that's something that we're going to want to actually do, because there's some bosses, if you haven't seen the footage, you've been watching my footage here, it's ridiculous. Like, some bosses are throwing fire everywhere. They're a little bit exaggerated, and I'm ready for it, but at the same time, I want to make sure my torrent is ready so I can use them in attacks like, remember the Mountain Giant fire boss, which was special, but with the torrent, you can make it a little easier in certain different bosses that make it very cool. So there's plenty, and I mean plenty, of things to get into with this previews and everything that you guys probably want to know. And I'm about to take some time right now to dive down the rabbit hole into some of my thoughts and opinions, and give you guys a little extra preview and just detailed information. They've done small quality of life things that I think is good. For example, when you find new items, you're going to see it on the menu screen where it'll pop up and say, oh, this is a new item. And they'll keep it there so that you can look into it later. You know, when you collect so many things, you kind of get lost on what's new, what's old. And so this is a good thing for the DLC for somebody like me who has pretty much everything from the original base game. So we'll see how that works. And then there's other aspects that they've done very good with. If you see some of these enemy types, they have a variety within the regular NPCs, or I'm sorry, the enemy types that are out there, that they'll have some type of variety, maybe explode after you damage them and do different things that can be interesting. and so on. And the same thing with the bosses. Of course, I don't want to spoil anything about bosses. I said one thing, which was 4 phases, which is outlandish. But there's gonna be things like being able to prepare, and this is where some tips and tricks would be: make sure you're ready for fire and poison. There's bosses and areas that basically focus on those two things. So if you can boost yourself ahead of time and have gear and have a setup that's resistant from that, you should be fine and go forward. I'm going to say this, and maybe these sweaty players that are watching this video won't like this, but go ahead and use your summons and spirits and whatever you feel you need. Don't listen to these, oh, just beat it with your eyebrow. You can beat them with your eyebrow players, okay? It's disrespectful to the community who just wants to have fun and enjoy themselves, and not worry about trying to be the best player who plays a no-hit run and all that good stuff. Personally, when I first played the DLC, I'm just going to have fun exploring and seeing what the universe has to offer. And to me, this is the best way to experience Elden Ring, because my first playthrough was like that, over 100 hours just to beat the main story, because I've searched every nook and cranny, found all the bosses, and in this game, there's an area where, just like the original game, where you're running around and a dragon pops up and attacks you. Well, there's something else close to that that happens in this game, similar, that you're going to actually say, wow, this is so cool. I'm so excited and I'm loving it. And do that and you'll be good. And I want to kind of pause and talk about NPCs right off rip within the first 4-hour previews. The conversation is that there's plenty of NPCs that you'll run into, maybe old, maybe new, and you're going to be able to build friendships, relationships, or whatever word you want to use in that. And you're going to have those storylines, which we know there's a really cool lore with this game that I personally love, and I think will be exciting to kind of dive back in and see what they can add to the game going forward. Okay, for me personally, those are must-haves and must-do, in my opinion. So check it out and let me know what you're thinking. I do want to touch on some of the things that I'm sure all of us kind of trying to understand what they're offering when it comes to this experience. The question, most people that are just new and trying to understand, is this worth it? Is this going to be good? Is it the same or is it not? And I want to answer that question without being disrespectful and without being too hyperactive, let's just say, to the experience. The truth is that from what I've seen and what I've heard, and from everybody that's played multiple hours, it's pretty much more Elden Ring. So if you didn't like the main game, you probably won't like this either. Okay, they're not revolutionizing the DLC with new stuff. Pretty much more Elden Ring based elements, whether it's the enemy types, whether it's the bosses, whether it's the universe. But the truth is, if you do love it, which a lot of us do, and we thought it was well put together and it was amazing, there's nothing revolutionary or oh my God, this is the newest type of open world that's ever been made. There's nothing of that, but it's just looking at this world, and we're going to take a moment to see some areas where you're like, wow, this is actually very beautiful, very amazing areas that inspire, let's just say. Personally, I love that, and I think that we should, as gamers, embrace more games that are willing to stay true to who they are and what they do. So that question that I get a lot on social media, is it worth it? Is it worth it? The truth is, if you liked Elden Ring, the original game, you're going to like the DLC. Why not have an expansion that you can enjoy and experience different boss fights, different things, and continue your journey? Okay, so for me, DLCs are only worth it if you're excited for that experience and you're willing to go back into whatever game you love going forward. I don't know about the story. I can't talk about that actually, even if I wanted to. I do actually know a lot about what to expect and what's going to be there, more or less. But even that, Elden Ring doesn't have some, oh, this is the greatest cutscenes and emotional, dynamic experience. It's more just universe, lore, and so on. So, very cool stuff. As you can see here, this is one of the boss fights that I personally was telling you guys to prepare for with fire. And I don't want to spoil every boss, but the example here is that even your mount needs to get buffed because you're going to fall off of it and not have a good time with that fire all over the floor. So make sure you do what you need to do to stay alive, staying alive in this situation. And hey, don't be afraid to call them summons. Okay. So those are some of my impressions. I am excited for this. I do want the community to get involved as well, help me make new builds and explore the game thoroughly. Share your thoughts and opinions on what you think this is looking like, feeling like. If this is already out and you just came for some of the guides, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you check out our video for Elden Ring. We got more popping up on the screen right now. And do what you do. You know what it is. Like, subscribe, and comment, and all that good stuff. And we're going to keep it pushing as we continue to give you nothing but the best here at madgamer.com. Peace.